Hello. This podcast is not for children. Podcast where four friends get together and share facts about the world or how we found out those facts about the world in a fascinating enough way that someone else in the podcast will say,
Holy fucking science.
Hello, everyone. How are you? This is my little voice. I just got back from Australia, so I'm very sleepy. And now you know how long it takes us to edit one of these.
You're still in the future.
I know. It's tomorrow for me.
Oh.
But very early in the morning, maybe? I'm not sure. Who knows?
No one.
I'm very confused.
Yeah.
My calves hurt.
From Australia?
Yeah.
What'd you do in Australia to make your calves hurt?
I ran all the way home.
Oh.
Very long way.
Very fast.
Yeah. Yeah. 15-hour run. Not going to be really super together today. We're talking about the science of money or money science or science that is in some way related to, or maybe even just numbers that are related to money, which is mine, not even.
That feels like you're getting.
I was like, that's a stretch.
Stay on topic.
Or something.
And we are joined by the ladies of the financial diet.
Hi.
Hello.
Dames.
Hi.
Is Dames better? I'm sorry.
I don't think that's an official title.
No. Ladies is completely fine.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
We're good.
Introduce
I'm Lauren.
yourselves.
And I'm Chelsea.
Oh, good.
And we are the Financial Diet.
Wait, Hank, it's our turn.
All right. I'm Hank,
I'm Matt.
and we are
two
dudes on a
white
couch.
guys talking. Yeah.
So you don't have a thing.
No,
Oh,
we
that
didn't
was
have
clever,
a thing.
right?
No, it was just
Can't
that we
believe
weren't as
that.
prepared as you.
Yeah. And
No.
we are
Drinking
uncomfortably attracted to one another.
Oh.
And we are both in our 30s. Congrats on your birthday, Matt.
Ooh,
Thanks.
Matt.
On blast.
Big 3-0.
Big
Yeah,
3-0.
the internet thought I was 18, Hank. Come on. That was a
He is
literal
shocked.
spit take.
I poured my beer out of my mouth. I didn't even get close. I got a little bit on one tooth. Oh, man.
Nothing makes you feel. I just did that literally in front of Matt 30 minutes ago, and I just felt like every accomplishment I'd ever had in life is just out the window because I can't even drink.
Oh my God.
So you know how Chelsea's looking at you right now.
Yeah, right. Well,
Well, you know how it is.
I mean, accomplishments, they don't stay in your head.
You just
I-
lie
I
awake
don't
at
know.
You
night.
miss your mouth with the straw. That stays
Yeah.
in your head.
You just lie awake at night, tormented by that
Yeah.
like awkward thing you did.
And it was,
like,
with boba tea,
10
too,
years
and there
ago.
was 3 pearls just shot out. Hit the woman behind you, and she was like shaking her cane, speaking in a language you didn't know.
Does this
Oh,
happen
no.
to you?
No, but it's a really good scene for a book.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, we're gonna make the podcast now. I'm sorry. I'm
Sorry.
I'm putting the saddle on it, reining it in, putting my stirrups down. This. So I wouldn't.
You've never ridden a horse in your life.
We're gonna have to workshop this one.
You live in Montana.
I have
Get it
ridden
together.
plenty of horses.
How many?
Multiple.
Okay, more than I have.
Really?
I've never ridden a horse.
What?
Outside of a pony in a little circle.
I'm from the tri-state area, and I've ridden a horse. Rode
Well,
a
and
horse.
all the people that growing up with their little cute little helmets.
Yeah.
You saying like she
My-
owned a horse?
Yeah, because
No,
you're a New
I'm
Yorker.
not
Fun
a horse.
Yeah.
My best friend growing up was a serious equestrian, and there is no greater jealousy than a young girl whose best friend is Pony Girl.
Aw,
like
yeah.
she literally spent her entire time riding horses that
And,
she
like,
owned.
so
And this like
Effortlessly.
outfit and the
Oh,
outfit
the
with the
outfit.
crop and the hat.
Yeah.
There's no
It's a whole
crop
thing.
actually, and
Oh,
there's
there's no like little.
in
thing?
certain types there are. What she did, she's in Hunter Jumper, which is not crop.
Hunter Jumper, like
centered.
from Dune, like the thing that tried to kill Paul when he was in his bed. He was a little.
Haven't seen
Haven't seen Dune. Can you see Dune? I
There's
guess
a
you
movie
can.
of Dune.
Several, I think
starring
several.
Kyle
Yeah.
MacLachlan.
There you go.
Otherwise, I would have watched it, but you know.
But Kyle. So usually we try and figure out who's going to go first by having some sort of way of doing it, but I didn't think about that until
Who
just
has
now.
the most money?
All
This
right.
is where one of us drops our secret bank account.
Net worth, everybody. Start.
Break them out.
It's hard to calculate your net worth. I've found out the vast majority of my net worth is in companies I own.
It's actually not hard. There's like a lot of
It's very hard because I have no idea how much the companies I own are worth.
there are ways to figure.
There are no. I do not have stock in my company. They're not traded on the stock market. No one can tell me how much my
Well,
companies
you
are worth.
own companies. So if you own companies, then yes, it's a more abstract concept. But like if you just have a portfolio,
Sure.
then it's
Yes.
a little bit easier.
Yeah.
The internet seems to think it knows what your net worth is.
Yeah. What is the internet? What does the internet say my net worth is?
Let's see. Hold on. $2 million. All
Oh, I mean, if you count my companies, that is a gross underestimation.
right. Well, you heard it, internet.
Damn.
Go.
Laying.
But I can't like.
down.
This is like
I can't,
a rap
spend
song.
them.
You're like grossly
If
underestimating.
you count my companies, you grossly underestimate my net worth.
Exactly.
I was really excited
No, you're gonna keep
when
going?
my wife gave birth.
Yep. All right.
Ah!
You did it. You
It was
landed
way
it.
better than having money because my honey made a baby. This
Yeah.
little baby was better than all the gravy and Muscovy.
What's Muscovy? Where's Muscovy?
Muscovy is a kind of duck. And I assume it's from Moscow. It's a Muscovy duck. It's from Moscow. It's Muscovian. Anyway, I was really made a mistake. I've made some mistakes, and I wish to erase them quickly.
Not according to your net worth.
Well, I made some good calls, some bad calls. This episode of Holy Fucking Science, not my best work so far.
For everyone listening, we flew out from New York for this, so we were expecting
what is
the
this?
full HFS treatment.
Well, you're getting it. All right. The person with the most expensive pants is going to go first.
Oh, not me.
That's probably where are those from?
These I don't even know. They probably cost like $20.
Oh, 20 buckers.
These
Yeah.
are Old Navy ones, as I've already indicated.
Yeah, on a
So-
previous.
On a
on a
previous
previous
one.
episode.
This is not canon.
Sorry,
For this show.
sorry, y'all.
It's a different
Sorry,
show.
I am wearing, for the record,
How much
Old
were
Navy
your Old Navy pants?
Like $40.
$40?
Yeah.
Despite
Abercrombie?
their disheveled appearance, these were Abercrombie and therefore probably $100.
Oof.
Okay. These were $59. I just bought them, but they were Australian dollars. So that's more like
That's pretty close to the same, though, right?
45.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're like
Wait, Australian dollars are worth less?
worth less, yeah. 80 cents to the dollar.
Oh, okay.
So
Looks like we know.
you're
who's
going first, Chelsea.
This
Miss
is
Expensive
Chelsea.
Pants.
So, as I understand it, it's best to tease these things.
Yes.
So,
Fact.
well, actually, given the nature of the show, I'm sure that this will not be as much of a mystery as I probably anticipated. But just out of curiosity, what does everyone think the leading cause of divorce is?
Ooh.
Their children.
Knife fights.
No,
I'm not going to answer this.
It's
because
money.
I think
money.
I know.
Oh,
yeah.
money.
Yeah, money
That makes
problems.
sense.
Arguing
you're
about
right.
money.
But did you know also that it has nothing to do with how much money you have?
Ooh.
That people
Ooh,
are.
tell me more.
Yes, well, Kansas State University would be happy to tell you more. Sonia Britt, who is an assistant professor of family studies and human services, she conducted a longitudinal study of more than 4,500 couples as part of the National Survey of Families and Households. I do not know what longitudinal means in this context.
Hank.
The longitudes are the ones that go up and down.
That's what I thought.
Well, yes.
She conducted a study that goes up and down.
Yeah, it goes up and down. It includes people from both North and South America.
Not true.
That's exactly what it means.
I don't know what it means.
I don't know either, but I know you're not right.
So in the study that she performed on essentially why people are divorcing, they controlled for income, debt, and net worth, meaning that like even whether you had $1 million of debt or no debt, arguing about money early in your relationship is the highest predictor that you will get divorced. And so they did this study saying, you know, you can measure these money arguments from when people were first together before they were even married. And even if they go on to become incredibly rich or if they go on to get a bunch of debt, they have the same chance of getting divorced if they were arguing about money early in their relationship.
Huh.
So kind of
Which
like,
I was shocked by because I would have totally assumed that people who have more debt get divorced more and or people who don't have a lot of money get divorced more. But it is neither.
It's just about whether you argue about it.
It's just about whether it's a primary source of conflict early in your relationship.
I guess with that correspond to if you're not on the same money page? Like
Well,
if
yeah.
you speak different money languages?
That's a big one, right? Because obviously it means that like from the get-go, your money values are not aligned.
Mhm.
And what's interesting is that in this study, there were people who got richer as they were together and they got poorer as they were together. But if they disagreed about money early on, same divorce.
Well, so how do I not disagree with people about money? What are my strategies? I don't know. I just don't. We don't really argue.
Well, as established by CelebrityNetWorth.com, you don't have to. Kidding. Actually, that's disproven. I'm completely contradicting the science. You would
Yeah.
be just as likely to get
Yeah,
divorced.
that's
even
right.
later.
But how did okay?
Wealthy
So
man.
can you think back to like early in your relationship with
When
Catherine?
we used to have a separate bank accounts,
Yeah.
and we had a whiteboard. So we did that thing, and then at the end of the month,
Wait,
we'd
what is
cancel
that
it
thing?
out. Well, like I'd buy dinner, she'd buy dinner. I'd get some groceries, she'd buy some groceries.
But you were
and,
like keeping
we
track.
keep track of who spent the money, so that
Okay.
we knew. And then when we got married, I think that was when we were like, okay, our books are joined now.
That probably
Like-
puts you way ahead of most people, I feel.
But I also feel like if I ever felt, like sometimes I could be frustrated by the things that she might want to buy, and I'm sure she feels frustrated by the things that I might want to buy. But like,
Right.
But I guess that's
but I
how,
feel
how does
like
that get
like,
resolved?
I value her. Like I value like both like not being in an argument and also the fact that she's gonna want different things than me.
Right.
Have you ever had an argument about money?
Probably.
Does anyone ever
We've been
stick out in
together
your
for
mind?
like 80 years.
But there's nothing that like, oh, I remember that time that she was going to buy that horse. And I was like, no, the hell you're not.
We don't have room for a horse.
Yeah, when we were building the house, so we like bought a house that we remodeled extensively, and there were definitely moments where I was like, "This is okay. Let's not do that." She was like, "Let's do that." And I was like, "No, too expensive." She's like, "But it's gonna look much better."
She pulled up Celebrity Net Worth and she was like,
I did read while I was researching this episode that like a tremendous number of people have no idea how much their spouse makes. Which
That's
Yes,
concerning.
so-
Also, in that same vein, people don't know when their partner has debt all the time. Like they bring it into a relationship and then it gets dropped on them one day like a bomb. It's like, oh, by the way, I have 6 figures of student loan debt. And it's like, how do people feel about that? Because that's not something that's going to go away.
also, we are sort of a cornucopia of depressing money facts here at the Financial Diet. And one of the craziest ones is that I think it's about 52% of women do not manage their own finances when they're married until the case of divorce or death of a spouse.
52%.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
over
I
half.
just have no like just
Yeah.
have never dealt
There's
with
like,
money.
And then
let
the
the man
number's
do
going
the
down
books
slightly.
kind of
It's
thing.
like the
but
opposite
not
of
in
my
proportion.
house.
Yeah. Which is fun. The interesting thing is when it's the opposite, it is quite the opposite. What's really interesting is that women control the vast majority of day-to-day purchases.
Sure.
So you have a weird situation where like women are doing most of the spending, but are not privy to like the long-term financial value or goals of the couple.
And that makes you think like, how in the world can they be managing on a day-to-day in like a
Yeah.
well, I
like,
mean, it's sort of like
sustainable way?
well, and the weird thing is that the numbers are not going down in tandem with how much women are entering the workforce and contributing
So
equally
it's
to their
sort of like
partnership.
staying at the same
It's going
level.
down slightly, but not at all at the same
Right.
pace as women are sort of contributing more, which leads me to think it's because we're still dealing with women who are like raised. Like I was a woman, I was raised. I learned a bit about money because my mom managed and my dad's self-employed and my mom was his accountant effectively. So we learned a little bit in that way. But I don't know. Did you get a ton of money education at home?
Yes. I mean, my mom is the one who does all of the bills and all of the like tracking with money in the house. My dad is very much the one growing up who was always like, can I have $10, Karen? Or like, can I? And she's like, like, yes, Mark. Not to like, call them out, but they probably won't be listening to this.
I need $10.
Yeah, but like, he's like it's for his like lunch money, like just because like he never really went to the bank to take out money, and she was always the one handling things. So it was very natural for me to have a female in the home who was kind of managing and organizing and kind of.
Well, we're a sample
Teaching.
size of 2 that runs a financial site. So
So-
we probably got a stronger education than
The
most.
longitudinal
but
study here.
on average,
Yeah.
the longitudinal study of
It's very
this couch.
it's very latitudinal
Yeah.
over there.
Oh, wait, you were right.
As far as
Yeah,
we know.
damn.
It's super latitudinal. Interesting.
Yeah. But so that leads me to think that, like, particularly because what's so striking to me about this is that I was positive that the cause of divorce was going to be heavily impacted by debt. Not even so much about income, because you can sort of see how like people earning more, they spend more, it completely spirals out of control. But you would think that debt, just like the crushing stress that it provides to day-to-day life, would like fray things more. And not at all. I mean, probably to an extent, but not longitudinally.
Yeah. It's about whether you argue about it early on. So if you start out your relationship arguing about money, don't have a baby.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's about like the personal relationship with money one-on-one, and then also like in a couple, because if you're fighting over $10 or $10,000, like
it might
it's still the same mentality behind it.
It might just be a really good indicator for communication skills. Like
Yeah.
how good are
And that's
you
right, 'cause-
at dealing with something that's hard?
That's what I'm thinking is like
In
so
a
many of these
careful way.
problems can be avoided by just a conversation.
Yeah.
And just like,
And
you were saying, like hiding debt from someone. I don't even know how I would hide my debt from my girlfriend with like planning trips together and all this stuff. I'd be like, yeah, I can totally afford that because I have no student debt whatsoever.
Nothing to see
Like,
here.
that's not so ridiculous.
No,
is the
it's
crazy
it's
thing. Like,
absolutely
people do it
true.
But the idea of
aggressively.
being in one of those relationships, I can't
Stressful.
imagine
Yeah.
of like, the added stress of having to hide that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
not only are you hiding something from your partner, but you're also like adding stress to your relationship that is unnecessary.
Well, the leading cause of dispute between partners in terms of why they fundamentally disagree is pretty obvious and statistically backed up, which is that one person just is a saver and one is a spender. And that's the sort of thing that like you're not getting over that unless you completely radically manage your money in a neutral way. Like that is always going to be a huge source of stress. Out of curiosity, amongst the assembled group, who is more the saver or the spender in your respective relationships?
I don't like. I used to be the saver, and now I feel like we're both the spender.
Celebrity network.
I was gonna say, I think me and Devin are both kind of more spender than saver.
Yeah. I used to get very nervous about spending money, and that still is to some extent. But I also just have worked through a lot of my nervousnesses in general, where now I sort of like a better understanding why I do things, and it freaks me out less to do them.
Yeah. See, she's better with like the idea of like I need to save for this specific thing, whereas I'm like I have to make that automatic, and I can't see it because if I can see that at all, I'm gonna be like, hey, there's money.
Oh yeah.
I need to
Automate
buy new
savings, step
headphones.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, my thing was more like there is no reason to spend money ever.
oh, see, I'm an impulse shopper.
Well, there certainly is. But can you tell the audience where you got your shoes?
Got them in a box. They were in a box, which is where
On
most shoes
the
come from.
That's
street.
true. He's
It
got
was
you
an
there.
alley.
Oh, right. That's better. Either way, that's
They're
not-
nice though, right?
They do
No,
look
they
I
nice.
do
actually,
look
when you
sturdy.
walked in, I was like, those are nice shoes Hank's wearing.
I mean, these were free. These were like $120, and your shoes look way nicer than mine.
They do. Well, I only got them like a week ago in a
But from
box
an
in
alley.
I don't know. I think somebody had a bad breakup, is my guess.
Slept from
Ooh,
outside.
just putting them out on the street.
Yeah, there were also some other things in there that made me feel that way.
Living in New York is bad in a lot of ways, but one of the ways it's good is that when rich people move, the shit they put out on the street is
like
unbelievable. We
quality.
literally, in my house, we have a couch that originally cost nearly $2,000 that someone threw out in almost perfect condition. I just retreated the leather and just like, bam.
Yeah, man.
I
And
feel like
the
we just
kind
get,
of
like,
things that
shitty
people
TV
leave on the side
stands.
of the road.
Oh,
It's
so
like
many TV
unreal.
stands.
really nice
So many,
Ethan Allen
like-
couches.
So many shitty TV stands that are clearly made for like the old
Yeah, for
tube
CRTs.
CRT.
That's why they
Like,
throw them away.
Yeah, they're like, well, I got an LCD TV.
If anybody could like come up with a use for old
Yeah.
4x3 size TV stands, come out to Missoula, Montana. We've got a lot.
Yeah. That's like our third biggest export.
I don't know, because people are still switching to LCD TVs
Oh,
here, so they just
right.
like show up on the curb.
Yeah.
Should get some DIY like Pinterest projects to do with those. And
That
they'd
sounds
fly.
exhausting.
They often are. They often are.
All right, Lauren.
Yes.
I heard that you're very prepared.
I am very prepared, maybe too prepared.
More
I have
prepared
to
than me, that's for
scroll
sure.
things like 10
I gotta
Like
paragraphs.
scroll.
3,000 words for this.
So,
buckle
well,
up.
let's see how, interesting you guys find it. So, the thing about this study that I found was really interesting because it talks about the behavior of money and what happens as a kind of consequence of having money. And like, I think that, growing up, we all have heard the mantra, like, money is the root of all evil.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that sounds just like something that people who don't have money would say to like comfort themselves, perhaps.
Because they're jealous.
Because they're jealous. And I'm like, oh, you know, it's just something that you think in your head, but you don't actually know if it's based in any kind of
What's
truth.
the title of this study? Money is the root of all evil?
No, it's actually...
Money is, in fact, very bad. Study done.
No.
Longitudinally.
It's called The Psychological Consequences of Money. And basically, the researchers were assuming from a position of, like, I guess, prior research that, you know, having more money brings around this sense of, like, self-orientation, where they're kind of, like, individualistic and more self-sustaining. Like, they don't really have an incentive to kind of go outside their comfort zone and help others. And they actually did, like, 9 different tests within this one study to prove that, you know, because they were coming from the place that was like, okay, money is a tool to like buy goods and services, but it also disrupts like social harmony, because it puts people on like vastly different wavelengths in terms of what they want and how they'll get it, and if they want to work with people in the process. So there were like 9 parts of this study, and basically they like primed different groups in the study with like money, and one that was not primed with money. And the way that they would do that is like, you know, in the research room, they'd like have stacks of Monopoly bills to like get them thinking about money, or they'd put like a picture in a frame where there was like all different types of currencies, like stacks of currencies, like just these really funny ways. They actually had at one point them like read an essay that someone wrote who was struggling with money, and then another essay written by someone who was like very well off and like doing well. And then they kind of like put them through a series of tests, you know, solving tasks, like asking for help, problem solving. And they basically found like the people that were primed with money were very much like, I'm going to do this by myself. Like, I'm going to succeed by myself. I don't need help. Like the amount of time that they worked on things with like before they would ask for help would be like triple the amount of time. And basically they just found that people were really kind of just like adverse to just pretty much involving other people, because it gives you this sense of individualism, that you want to work alone and you want to succeed alone because you have the tool of money. And I just found that so interesting, because I'm like, man, like, you know, in America, I feel like a lot of people that you talk to, they're like, oh, I want to make a lot of money. I'm driven in my career to like get rich one day. And then it's like, what does that look like when you actually have a lot of money? Like, are you a worse person? Like, is that inevitable? Can you be like a moral and ethical person with a lot of money? And I just think it's like a fascinating study. Like it's just so interesting. Yeah. And I just thought, it leads to an interesting conversation about what it means to be wealthy and rich, and like what that does to your relationships with people.
I mean, it's interesting because like there is definitely an amount of like, well, good, you can work hard and like focus on a thing and see if you can pull it off on your own.
Yeah.
But also like, you know, I feel like anybody who's really ever accomplished anything big and useful knows that that was done by a team.
Sure.
Like,
I mean, I would agree. Absolutely.
And also like it's more rewarding and more fun, I feel like, if you're doing it as part of a team. Like you accomplish a thing and then like you all get to like see each other being happy about it and not just the emotions in yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really...
It's that idea though of like, look what I have done.
Yeah.
Like once you've completed that thing, like they go into it wanting to work on it alone, because if they can do it alone,
then they can have
the benefit
that Thomas Edison
like,
story.
Hey, there's $50,000 for the people who get this done. So if one person gets it done by themselves, $50,000. If they have to work with 4 other people and split that money, then they're less happy because it's money.
And I think it's not even just the end result of like being able to claim that success for yourself. It's also like they were saying that the results show that people wanted to play alone, work alone, and put more physical distance between themselves and like a new acquaintance. So it's not only, you know, that like reward system in your head that's kind of getting altered. It's also the way that you physically interact with people, where you want to live, perhaps, like what you do for fun. Like they were saying that people were given, you know, a choice of whether they wanted to do this thing alone or do this like more involved thing with a bunch of people, like take a cooking class, or would they rather eat alone? And it was like they'd rather just hang out alone.
So it is like cognitively, psychologically isolating.
Yeah.
Because it's like culturally, it seems like there's clear isolating influences of having money. You tend to, I feel like there's a tendency that I have had to work against sometimes, having more money than some of my good friends, to like be afraid. Matthew raises his hand. Being afraid of like expressing the problems you might be having or talking, like, because they're not relatable, or that you're going to sound like a whiner because there's, obviously, like, you have it off good. And also, like, you don't want anybody to know where you're at, and so you want to, you don't want to like have to explain that or feel weird about it, and so you tend to interact either with no one or with people who have the same amount as you, and so you like discard old friends in favor of new ones who are more like who are on the same page, and then that isolates you further from like reality.
There's like a lot of studies that show that people, as they get wealthy, become less and less empathetic, and it seems obvious in the sense of like, as you get more and more wealthy, the things that you can do every day are inherently limited to a narrower and narrower circle of people. Like even in simple things, like with your friends, like if you're going to certain restaurants, if you're traveling, like your friend group is automatically going to shrink to the relative group of your socioeconomic class, and it becomes quite small.
Which is why don't do that stuff.
Well, that's also like what will then make you less empathetic if you are not around these people who are going through some of these struggles. And like if you're only limiting your friend group to people who are as well off as you and are living a great life like you are, and not hearing the other people's stories, like you're like, everything's great for all of us. Isn't that crazy?
Which is true for most of us.
Everything's going so well.
The world is so nice.
I kind of feel that way just about living in Missoula, where it's like, like people have financial difficulties, but everybody's like just sort of, has that Missoula
like
glow.
We even like forgive the fact that it's just smoke covered for 2 months out of the year, because we're like, and then it's like, but it's also like -40 in the winter. Like you're like, but it's great.
It's great. We got so much good stuff. Though. Have you met the people?
They're so nice.
The people.
I feel like I think of the like unempathetic rich people as like the Lucille Bluth effect, where she's like, how much could this possibly cost, and then throws out a ridiculous number for some basic thing, and rich people really do feel that way. Like when they see people struggling, they're like, well, buy less of it, and it's like
and you say that as if it sounds ludicrous, but it, like, to rich people, like
it totally is.
It's just like, I don't understand how you can have this problem. Just fix the problem.
Right.
You clearly are spending money on clothes, and you have a refrigerator. Just deal with it. And it is remarkable, the disconnection.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so easy. It's so easy to find that disconnection.
They feel like, for example,
it's comforting too.
Oh, it's totally comforting, especially because
it's all someone else's fault.
When you think of money in terms of making the smartest possible decision with each individual purchase, that is totally out of the reach of most poor people. Like you can't buy in bulk.
It's also not what rich people do.
Totally.
Like no one does that. Yeah, but there are economic costs to being poor as well, and like a small hit for me, like if I got like pulled over and got a $100 ticket, be like whatever. But a lot of people, that would be that's
their month,
making their month in the red.
I think it's, what is it? Is it 49% of Americans are one $500 emergency away from financial ruin?
Like that's all it takes for like the average.
But the crazy thing is how many Americans don't realize that that's how the other half lives, I think. And there's a lot of interesting literature out there about people who are not rich, but who are upper middle class. Boy. And who just don't understand the precarity that so many Americans live in, particularly when it comes to things like their health. Like one of the most bleak things on the internet is you can go on Amazon to medicine for like lizards and fish and things like that, and all the reviews are from people who are using them for themselves.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Whoa!
And that's a real part of
because like amoxicillin is
people.
Expensive for people, but you can get like fish amoxicillin for cheaper.
And just kind of gauge the dose, and they're advising each other.
To America!
Oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's rough.
There was a guy who died recently giving himself horse antibiotics. Don't do that. You're not a horse.
Yeah.
You're a fish.
Well,
Jesus.
I agree with the first
part.
Not
where that was going.
Yeah.
But like reading this study, I was kind of like, are there things that you have to put in place to kind of save you from yourself? Like inevitably, are you doomed to just kind of like self-destruct? Like what are these things that you could do to help, I don't know, your future self who might have more money?
It really helps to have 200,000 people on the internet watching you.
And
that
policing,
way, that way it's like, yeah.
Anytime you say something kind of douchey, they're like, hey.
What would the nerd fighters think of this financial decision?
Like, you better have gotten those boots from an alley.
I'll find out.
Yeah. A little bit even. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think that reaching out for sources of empathy, I think reading stories, both fiction and nonfiction, from the perspective of people who are like you, but like you in many ways, but also not like you in many ways, really helps. But I think that it's hard. I think that it's active work. But life is active work.
I think YouTube helps a lot with that, like with not just financial things, but having empathy for anyone,
right,
because so many people
yeah.
have personal channels where they talk about their own life and like what they go through on a daily basis, and so you can watch that and go, that is 0% my experience on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But now I understand that is not only that person's, but a lot of people's daily experience.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have that outlet.
Also, I mean, I'm part of a political organization and do a decent amount of mobilizing work. And I feel like political organizations are one of the few places open to everyone. And I'm certainly not rich and having to like shelter myself from that, but I'm definitely better off than quite a lot of New Yorkers who live within a stone's throw of where I live, because New York has an incredible amount of inequality. And whether it's a community organization or a political organization, they're one of the few places that you can, on a regular basis, not only confront a lot of people from different socioeconomic brackets, but talk openly about those differences. There are people who come to the meetings, like we have a meeting on Saturday, and there are people that come and can bring food for everyone, and like I'll be bringing donuts for everyone, and then there are people who come and like that's their meal, and not, they're not starving, but like they're glad to not have to pay for a lunch that day, And I think that the more you kind of force yourself into contact, even if you are just not poor, to remind yourself of what it means to be poor,
Yeah, and just just because something makes you uncomfortable doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. I think a lot of people are sort of like, oh, well, why would I do that? It's uncomfortable. Right. And for me, it's like, well, that's why.
That's absolutely why. And
you want to definitely keep yourself in that zone where you are able to endure and like expose yourself to things that make you feel uncomfortable. Yeah,
because otherwise you do get isolated by your situation, and I would never want to be isolated from my friends just because they don't make as much money as me. Like that's why friends are the whole point.
Yeah. They make life worth living.
Not for me. I'm going in a
money. I'm Scrooge McDuck diving into mine.
And like
ready to dive.
And most of my friends work for me, so they can't make as much money as me because that would be weird.
I mean, I'd be all right with it.
There's a lot of layers to this.
I mean, if you want to change that, I'm okay with it.
I have to say, perhaps a tangent, but it is very fascinating to work in a tiered structure with people you are friendly with. Don't you find? Rather than
I don't find it weird at all because I've never done any other thing.
That's true.
That's how this whole thing started.
Because it's
like the only tiered structure I've ever worked in, besides one that I ran, was Walmart.
Were you the greeter?
I was a stockman, which means
you were You were a stockman.
I cleaned things and I pushed carts. Yes, I was in my late teens.
Stock gentleman.
I was a stock gentleman, and I was very good at it.
Yeah,
I was promoted 3 times.
I definitely.
What was their final?
I don't remember. I was like department manager or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
To that point though, like Lauren and I are partners and friends, and our third partner is a friend of mine as well. And I feel like because we are all sort of in it together, the friendship is a bit mitigated by that. But I worked at another company where there was a real blurring of friendship and management, and it ended disastrously for many of the parties involved. And I think,
all right, well,
no,
hey,
you guys are off the list.
Yeah, we're not friends anymore.
It's ended.
Bye.
I mean, I do like there is a certain like I think that I make a point and make it clear that I am also your boss, and like I don't act the same way that I would if we were just friends.
No, and I often, when I tell stories, I'm like, oh, my friend boss Hank.
Just
like,
to be clear.
That's usually how I refer to you so that they know it's like, when I'm telling the story, it's not just my friend Hank. It's my friend boss Hank.
Yeah.
Right.
And there are certain things that I would not do, like jokes that I would not make with my employee friends that I would with my friend.
I think it's also a lot of context.
Caitlin's face is like, what jokes are those? Because the ones you make at work.
I think it's also like, establishing like boundaries of place and time with a lot of that, of like what's being said or talked about at work versus like if you're having a drink at the bar,
right,
or like playing video games together, or like watching a hockey game. Like it's like very different behaviors, and if that is affecting the work life, where if Hank was giving me like beneficial treatment at work of like, well, like me and Matt hung out last night, so he gets a raise. Like, clearly that would be a problem.
Well, I'm not going to get into too much detail, but there was definitely some of that ambiance going on in this. But that, I think, tends to be more the norm than the exception when people sort of mix that personal relationship, particularly because when it comes to the financial side of things, I think there does get to be this real sentiment amongst people who have sort of mixed it in an unhealthy way of like, well, why am I not making, like, we're friends, like, shouldn't we be the same? And I think mitigating that is extremely hard.
Yeah.
Unless it's like just the culture up front, you know?
Yeah, I just try to be pretty honest that like I own this business.
Yeah.
I think it's probably also gotten easier for you as the company's gotten larger.
Because
you can't have 50 friends that are that close of friends.
Well, but I feel bad for people who like I've never hung out with.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think, hopefully they don't feel bad about it. I don't know. But I've definitely had to like I might have done something with a friend not at work who works for me, and then the next day been like, so I have to apologize for being your boss in that situation in that way. And I'm gonna put it out there that I think that I should have behaved differently. And I think that bosses in general should own up to their mistakes more often. Because I really don't want people to be put in a place where they feel like, because I try to be as open with even if I may be a little bit messed up, to be like, I just like, let's talk about this now before you might feel uncomfortable and I'm not giving you a chance to.
Well, and I would say that like I noticed something like because we're visiting the Complexly team in offices for the first time ever, even though we've been a Complexly channel for a long time. And one thing that we've noticed here that is like not the case in a lot of New York offices is people leave like 5:30 like max. And like people seem to be like, I think in a lot of the sort of blurred line employer-employee situations, it turns into this really slippery slope of like people start sacrificing more and more of their life to the company because they feel like it's also a personal sort of relationship to them. Like they're like, this job is my family. And it's like, no, your family's your family. Like, and so
I've actually directed management to not refer to this as a family.
That's healthy.
Because sometimes it's sort of like an instinct to be like, you guys are my family. And it's like, nope, they're not. They're not. They're your coworkers. And like,
that boundary
and 5:30, like if you're here, like if people are here at 6, I'm like, what are you doing here? Why are you still here? And like, I kind of want to know because I don't want people here past 5. Like, because that's the work week, and the startup like I just think that's startup culture.
And I would say in New York, more people than not who are in a startup-y place where they go out and party with their boss, and their boss is like their friend, but then their boss is like, oh, gotta come in for the 4th Saturday in a row, but
it's not a problem.
At the end of it, like it's just a very
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a lot easier to be part of that culture if we were in a big city, but being in Missoula is nice. And like, to be honest, we don't pay San Francisco wages, but we also don't work San Francisco hours.
And you don't have to pay San Francisco rents.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
No one does. Not even New Yorkers.
God.
Yeah. All right.
All my friends who work in San Francisco don't live in San Francisco. They live in
no one
knows. You can't afford to.
I mean,
literally no one lives there. It's a town of 0.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently, according to Celebrity Net Worth, I have a lot of money and I couldn't afford a house in San Francisco.
Oh. It'll be okay, Hank.
What am I going to do? Oh, I don't know. Live in Missoula.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to do mine now. I was actually my turn before yours. But
by ranking of bean worth?
By pant expense, because my
I
pants are
guess
better.
jeans just look so good.
Yeah, I got distracted by the goodness of your pants. So, hopefully, you are all following me on Twitter, so I can't do this. Because I tweeted all about my fact before I got here.
Okay.
I didn't even,
we were busy, Hank, working, so we weren't checking in on your Twitter
Chelsea
feed.
liked my tweet.
Yeah,
and
I'm not
she sent
gonna
me
lie.
a weird pic of a owl with binoculars.
Oh my God, that's my favorite meme. But that's like the watching gossip from afar meme.
I was watching gossip because here's what happened. He's referring to his tweets about his article, which I did read, and that was your fault for tweeting them when you know that we follow you. But you spoiled your own thing. But that being said, so it's, for those of you who don't know the meme, it's an excellent GIF. It's an owl puppet that just takes up a binoculars and a popcorn to watch drama.
Did I drama? Was I making drama?
Yes. Before
I didn't
you went
intentionally make drama.
Oh, I was this close to instead of tweeting the GIF to just say drag him, Hank.
Oh.
Who was this? I don't know who this person was. It was a stranger that a friend retweeted. I don't know who it was.
You put his ass on Front Street.
I did do that, but I don't know who he is.
He's just some like startup guy who tweeted about how like it's more dangerous to live a mediocre life than to fail, and you're like, what's actually dangerous?
Oh yeah,
to,
and
like
then you
think that your life only has
12
meaning.
times about this.
No, I just one time.
No, that was the other.
Oh,
that's
okay.
no,
That's the
stop.
other
That's
thing.
his
That's the
article
other thing.
stuff.
I'm
You're gonna
distracted
spoil it.
by your
But
tweets
either
now.
way, I was like, at first I was gonna be like, drag him, Hank, but then I was
He
like,
was like,
even better, the binoculars.
yeah.
That is a useful
I just
GIF.
said it's more. The real danger is believing that having an impact is more important than having a positive impact.
Yeah. I retweeted that shit.
Which is a thing I say all the time in videos, and I really don't like the mindset that like you are not valuable if you're not having like Elon Musk value
Right.
or like Elon Musk impact. Like fuck that! Oh my god, it's exhausting.
Also, like,
And I'm 37 now.
Yeah.
And I know I believed that back in the day when I was 22 and like wanted to change the world and be a big shot and whatever. But oh my God, just so many people have so like amazing, productive, positive lives, and they don't get an obituary in the New York Times.
Right.
And every one of them is a dope ass human being. And fuck mediocrity as being a good person who like works, who like loves their friend and families. Their one
and just
friend.
like catches up on some CSI with frosty glasses.
Oh,
You're like,
man.
who doesn't love
But
the simple thing?
I mean, we have a whole chapter in our book called Dreamy Medium for exactly that
Dream
reason.
Medium.
Dream
Hank is
because like
prominently featured in the Dream Medium chapter.
because it's not like, you know, not everyone's going to be Elon Musk. Like, not
Nor
everyone's going
should
to have
they
these
aspire to be.
crazy
Also,
rock
the
star
jury's
careers.
out on Elon Musk's
Oh,
ultimate
yeah.
impact.
Also,
That's
someone
true.
you know quite well wrote a whole book called The Fault in Our Stars that's a lot about that
It is.
idea
No,
of
yeah.
wanting
Well,
to
I
make an
mean,
impact on the world.
Vlogbrothers has like some pretty specific behind the scenes, not really discussed themes that we have
Yeah.
drawn throughout the whole thing, and that is one of them. But that's not what my fact is about at all. But that's how I know you were looking at my Twitter today. But what
Looking at it.
is the most common piece of American currency? Paper money.
I'm not going to answer this because I know.
Because you looked at my Twitter.
Paper money?
Because you tweeted them.
I did.
And I follow you, and so does
I'm-
everyone else on this.
I actually don't know. I didn't read Hank's tweet.
Yeah, I didn't read
so
You could probably
tweets.
guess.
$5 bill.
I was
No.
going to say the $1
The
bill.
$1 bill.
Okay.
It's the $1 bill.
I thought that
By-
seemed
It
too
is.
obvious.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is. Okay.
So it's the $1 bill is the most common. But what's the most common place that a dollar exists in currency is a weird sentence. Do you understand what I mean by that?
No.
I'm going to say no.
So there's $1 in a $1 bill, but there's $5 in a $5 bill.
Yes.
So for every $5 bill, there's 5 times as much dollars
Mhm.
in a $5 bill than there is in a $1. So, the majority of dollars do not exist in $1 bills.
Okay.
Are you?
But
there
is it?
yet?
But,
Okay,
but is
I'm
it not?
following.
It's not $100 bills either.
It is.
Oh, okay.
It is $100 bills.
Oh.
80% of dollars exist in $100 bills.
What I don't
What?
understand, like,
So they're
I know
printing.
this, and I don't even
yeah.
understand what you're saying. Like, wait, do you mean like dollar bills exist in $100 bills?
No, so like basically, if imagine there's $1 million.
Done.
Like the entire every dollar in circulation is $1 million. 80% of those would be in $100 bills. 80% of those $1 million.
Oh, I know. I see what you're
80% of
saying.
that.
So 80% of the dollar bill, the paper money's out in circulation.
Yeah.
80% of the dollars that are out in
Not
circulation.
80% of the pieces of paper.
Right.
But of the dollars.
Of the dollars that are out in circulation are $100
yeah.
bills.
That is so
Or the
bizarre.
dollar.
Man, I
because
still don't understand, but I'm going to be along for this ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the vast majority of money in circulation is in $100 bills.
But
it's
no
like
one
77%.
Hold on.
But
So
no
the vast
one
majority of bills are $100 bills.
No, the vast majority of bills are not. There's about 11 million or 11 billion or something. 11 something.
You mean in value?
In value.
The most value is in $100 bills.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which makes a certain amount of sense. But there are roughly the same number of $1 bills and $100 bills.
So they're almost 50% as well?
No, there's ones in the middle that take away from the percentages. But
they print the same same amount of $1 bills as they do $100 bills.
Yeah.
But then wouldn't that mean there was an equivalent amount of them?
There is an amount, but every $100 bill is $100.
So the amount of dollars. So the amount of dollars.
I'm terrible at this.
Yeah, it's a hard one to I think nail down.
Yeah.
The amount of dollars.
If there was,
I've never felt so stupid.
No, I think we're all kind of like.
Yeah, we're all kind of.
There's no rails to be on right now. We're all just kind of like lost in a field.
Yeah. So if there were $1,000 total dollars in the entire American economy, like in currency,
yes,
then 800 of those dollars would be $100 bills.
So it is the vast majority of the value of the dollars floating out there.
Yeah, it's weird because dollar means both two things. It means both the idea of the monies.
The
monies. Yeah. So it is weird. So there are several weird things when I went to the website that the Treasury publishes of how many bills there are in circulation. The thing that weirded me out the most was that there is roughly the same number of $1 bills as $100 bills, because I know that I see a lot more $1 bills than $100 bills.
Yeah.
I hardly ever see $100 bills.
So say, when's the last time any of us held a $100 bill?
Yeah, like a year ago.
Yeah.
No.
They're New Yorkers.
That's a little bit more so, but for weird purposes.
That's how much it is for a cup of coffee in New York, am I right?
Yeah, you got to buy your cocktail somehow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that sales tax they got out there?
Holy moly.
We're
just making fun
of how
we were mocking that
in New York?
We're
totally missing this. We're sitting here having a sidebar.
No. Actually, that being said, we have had a lot of coffee here in Missoula, and our average latte is like $5 to $6. And here it's like $2, and I've never felt so wealthy.
Yeah, it's
just
wonderful.
I'll
take 5.
I'll have 3 lattes, please.
I just leave big tips. It's great.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why is it such a big tip? And I'm like, I don't know, because the coffee was extraordinarily inexpensive and also very good. So
in New York,
and have you seen CelebrityNetWorth.com?
I pull it up for you. But I don't know the last time I've seen a $100 bill.
So the sitch with the hundreds is that they're used as instruments in doing business, often by people who are not doing business in particularly, I don't know, illicit ways. Is that a word?
That are doing it in illicit ways.
Not licit.
Not licit.
Unlicited.
Unlicited.
Is licit a word?
No,
definitely not. Illicit is, but you just use it.
You know what I
incorrectly.
mean, though. Avoiding taxes, but also if you want to buy something very expensive and you don't want there to be a record of it, $100 bills are the only way you can do it because it is the top unit of currency in America.
Or if you're paying undocumented workers.
Same. There is also a lot of those $100 bills exist not in the U.S. and are used as basically savings by people who live in a place with currency that is not that is volatile.
Okay.
So they, instead of having all their money in the local currency, they will convert that into American money just so that they can have their money be something that's stable. So in the same way, a lot of money is sent by American immigrants in $100 bills to people in those countries so that they can have something to live off of. And American currency is used in lots of places. And especially for large purchases, people will accept it because it's easy enough to turn into local currency whenever you want to.
Yeah. But do you guys ever
something like 50% of those $100 bills aren't in the U.S., which is
that
weird.
makes sense. That actually was what surprised me the least. But I was just going to say, on a related note, do you ever look at those bills of countries that are severely hyperinflated, right before the crash, and it's $1 billion bills to buy a cake?
Yeah, and it's did you really need to print out the $1 billion bill? Did you not know what was going to happen? Were you not pretty sure that it was the hyperinflation wasn't over yet?
When
you printed out the $1 billion bill?
Literally 2 weeks ago, I was sweeping out my storage thing, and amongst my things, I don't know where this came from. Don't know when I found it, when it was given to me, where it came from. I found like a $5,000 Romanian, whatever their currency thing is. And I was like, is this worth like $2 US? Is it worth, what's it worth? And I looked it up and it was worth like $500 US. And I was like, I just found $500.
What? Whoa.
But it turns out this piece of currency is like no longer used at all.
Is it accepted?
Nobody wants to take it. I have called many places and they're like, yeah, we don't exchange those. And I'm like, but I want money.
Do I have to go to Romania? Maybe you could maybe like just pay for your trip to Romania with your $5,000 bill.
Go to like some Romanian travel agency and be like, look, I got one of these.
I got one of these.
Boom. What can I do with that?
Window.
Tell me whatever I can do.
Take me to your capital.
Yeah.
Take me to
I'm
your bank.
president now, I think. This is how that works.
I don't know what the capital of Romania is, but I want to go to there.
I will find out.
Rome, right? Is it Rome? Okay, last weird thing that I found out on this site. Number of $10 bills in circulation roughly equal to the number of $2 bills in circulation.
What?
That feels
Are
really
you
strange because I
serious?
never see twos
I
anymore.
never see a $2 bill.
Oh, but everyone keeps their twos.
You keep them. You don't spend them because people think they don't make them anymore, which they do. And they're like novelty
It's probably
bills.
the same with the Sacagawea coins.
Yeah,
I
those
have
people
many
don't-
of
people don't
those,
take
and I
those.
spend them because I know that
Oh,
people
I spend
take
them like
I
crazy.
love
Give
spending the
Fun fact about New
Sacagaweas.
York, when you get change on the metro station, they just give you
Yeah.
dozens of
Yeah.
Sacagawea
Yeah.
coins. Like that's
We don't want them either.
It's
Yeah.
so weird. It's like
Yeah.
you've won the lottery.
Yeah.
But I remember like
$2 bills are
spilling out onto the
it's
floor.
like a weird slot machine. It's like I put in a 20 and I got 19 gold dollars.
So like Mark's best friend comes and visits us a lot and has not really figured out how many metro tickets that he will need for a given stay.
Yeah.
And multiple times has put in a $50 bill.
Ooh, that happened to me
gotten
once.
$48 worth of Sacagawea coins that he's now.
You need like a bag, like a tote bag.
I
for
go to the
them.
bank to get dollar coins because it speeds up the parking meter experience in Missoula.
Oh yeah, sure,
Ah.
because you just throw one in
Yeah.
and it makes it like in and out.
Yeah, and it's $1 an hour. So
That's a lot.
yeah, well.
Also, the
it's a big
$2
city.
bills get like tacked up to like restaurant walls,
Yeah,
don't
it
they?
just-
Like,
My
Yeah,
grandma
like
used to like
cafe
give
walls.
me $2 bills, and I
it
thought they
ends
were
up
like
in
a
the drawer.
special
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, my
Like-
grandfather did the exact thing, and he would stamp the Clemson logo of Clemson College because he wanted me to go to there because they had good football.
So that was the start of your college fund. Here's $2.
$2, honey.
Here you go.
I don't know why.
But why were like we thought they were special just because they were not even rare, but
Because-
like
yeah, they're not rare. They're
That's
not.
so
They are
interesting.
just as rare as a 10.
I think if I saw a $2 bill, I'd be like, this has to be a mistake. Like, is someone fucking around with me? Like,
When I
don't
went
know.
on tour, I
Oh, yeah.
contributed to this by pricing all of our things under like $2 under major currency increments, so like $3, $8, $18, and would give $2 bills, signed $2 bills, and change. And you know,
so
people
yeah,
didn't
you're
spend
definitely
those.
contributing to it because you
Yeah.
signed
Yeah.
them,
Yeah,
and so
people
they're
are
gonna
not-
be in
now people-
scrapbooks.
yeah.
Totally.
They definitely
Just-
think that they're special.
And
the
the reason I found this out, I just have to be honest with you all, is that I at one point during that tour was like, I wonder if I could sign every $2 bill.
That existed.
Well,
You wanted
like
to
that
see if
was
there was,
like
like, none of-
out in currency. But no. It turns out there are not a small number of them.
Flew too close to the sun on that one.
What? So my question is like, I feel like I maybe once a month use cash. Now I almost never have cash on me, ever. Do you
Yes.
guys use cash?
No.
Yeah.
I
use
do when I use like I do get out cash occasionally because I really enjoy using it because it helps keep me like on track in terms of like overspending. Like if I go to the grocery store and I have
What?
cash on me, I'll spend way less.
Yep.
That's
I have
a
cash
year?
Oh,
on me
wow.
just because we went to the arcade last night, and so
Oh,
I had to take
yeah.
out money to get tokens.
Yeah.
I have $90 in cash on me right now.
What?
Plus
Plus a €10 bill because I just got back from
Ah.
Australia.
what?
I have.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Why is there a
What?
€10 bill in my wallet? I just got back from Australia.
Wait,
I haven't
that
been.
does not make
I haven't been
sense.
to Europe. In,
I have $32 and a $10
Whoa.
Australian note, and I
Chelsea.
didn't go to Australia.
what is happening?
We're way behind here. We have,
I got a gift from Valerie.
Oh,
they
it's the Butt
they gave
Fartman
me this
dollar.
bill because it has the Butt Fartman poem on it.
Aw.
But I also have. I think I have my Romanian thing in here.
Oh.
How much is it? Oh, it's 2,000.
Oh,
But
man.
still, it's a pretty
Jeez.
cool bill.
How old
Yeah.
is it?
I don't know.
You can see through it. It's got like a portal from another
Let me
world.
It was to commemorate some sort of event in their country's history or something, but apparently it's worthless to me.
Oh my god!
But I'm gonna hold it until someone will give me
That's
money
so
for it.
cool.
You gotta go to Romania, man. They'll change it there. All right, Matt, what's your fact?
Well, since we've been passing around this dollar, I think my little fact here is quite appropriate.
All right.
Money is gross.
Oh no!
Oh God, Matt!
Money is real gross, and we just contributed by passing bills around, 4 of us. No, don't put it on my face. Tried to put one of those rare $10 bills on my face.
I should try to sign every 10.
There's the same amount as 2s, and you already learned that was
impossible. They're easier to get because all the 2s are stuck in people's drawers.
Yes, but money is gross and covered in germs. I mean, you can probably assume that.
To what extent, though, Matt?
Well, so I feel like we've all heard things about like germs on money. I remember hearing at one point in high school, it was like a fun fact passed around that like, all money has cocaine on it.
Yep.
Like it's like an urban myth.
What? Hearing that too.
Yeah, it's like an urban myth that gets passed around, and it's like every piece of money has cocaine on it.
Which is not inaccurate. Like
so, it turns out about 80% of dollar bills have some trace of cocaine on them.
What? $?
That
is
incredible.
Rollers.
That's the thing. Apparently, they're doing their cocaine with dollar bills.
Snorting my coke off a hooker with a $1 bill.
Oh my God.
Well, apparently that's the majority of maybe cocaine users use dollar bills. Apparently, because it's 80% of dollar bills have and some is like the smallest possible, like 0.03, whatever. I mean, that's just a study in epidemiology. Like it does not take a lot of contact before like contact to contact to contact, you get everything. And that's the thing is like it also was a great testament to our ability to test for stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say who's testing these dollar bills?
Well, they were testing to just see like what sort of bacteria is passed and what kind of DNA is passed from bill to bill to bill and how this is just going around. And like now that you're holding money in front of me, it's just grossing me out.
Yeah.
Wait, what else disgusting?
Did they find
money?
All right, so they have found like animal DNA from like playing with your dogs and then grabbing your money and then passing it around. They've found like the bacteria that causes acne is like one of the most prevalent ones that's on money.
Okay.
And then it's also like different viruses and different drugs besides cocaine. Cocaine is the most prevalent drug that is found on money because it's
meth,
a
probably,
tool. But it is, they are all less than cocaine. My favorite part of this study was not just what is on money and what's exchanged through money, but as part of the study, they also tested like tip jars, vending machines, and ATMs in different areas of New York City. And they found more than 100 different strains of bacteria on dollar bills in New York.
Wait, how many?
100 different strains of bacteria.
What I'm not hearing is how much poop is on dollar.
Is that what you were waiting for?
Tell me.
It's poop bacteria. What's poop really?
That's true. What is true?
Well, along those lines, it seems that like things like change are more common to have like salmonella and E. coli on them than dollar bills.
My mom was not messing around when she was like, "Don't put that in your mouth."
Yes, that's a good rule of thumb for all money is don't put it in your mouth because it's got gross stuff on it.
But it tastes funny.
Yeah, because it's gross.
Ugh.
Gross
Just,
things
like,
taste
cut
funny.
Your lip open. It tastes like nickels.
Yeah.
Well, it's
that's why we
in general.
We all
just
have
like
that
nickels.
thing of like it tastes like pennies, and it's like, well, you shouldn't know what pennies taste like.
So, was there something grosser about ATMs?
Not
tip jars.
Not gross. Maybe it's grosser to other people, but to me, it was more interesting.
Okay.
Is that part of the study? Is they were swabbing a bunch of ATMs in New York, and they could map what foods were the most popular in which neighborhoods.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is insane.
Yeah. Based on like
blowing my mind.
They said that in Flushing and Chinatown, people are more likely to eat bony fish and mollusks.
Well, those are the predominantly Asian American neighborhoods.
There you go. And so they were like mapping out and able to look at like, oh yeah, well your fish remnants on your fingertips when you go to the ATM is apparently a lot of people don't wash their hands.
You can detect that. I mean, after eating just a pot sticker, maybe not.
Do you feel like, though, sort of on the subject of things being disgusting, do you feel like you've heard so many of these things over the years that you're just like, fuck it, I'm full of germs at all times?
Yeah.
Like,
I feel that way about
everything. Put that sponge in my mouth.
To be fair, I'm that about most things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when it comes to germs, I'm like the opposite of a germaphobe. I'm just like, whatever.
It's all there anyway. I mean,
I remember reading once that like in the average restaurant, the ice machine is dirtier than the toilet, and that's scientifically proven. And at that point, I was like, I'll never be clean again. So.
Oh well. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Like I do my part.
Toilets
Like
are clean though. They're disinfected all the time.
Yeah, but what gets
what's
on them
going-
in between is way worse, I would
Ugh.
say. No?
I mean,
No,
I'm
it's
also
just
in the
gonna
ice
say
machine, I would hope.
we've all had a dog lick our face at some point,
Yes.
Yeah.
and that's gonna be way worse than
That's
sucking out a
true.
penny, probably.
Well,
And
that's
another
true.
Complexly channel just featured a whole video on just getting all up in there. So clearly people do it and survive.
Yeah.
Just getting all up in there. What video did I miss? So was it a Sexplanations
Two videos
video?
ago, it's a Sexplanations video about
Yeah,
eating
it was
ass.
how to eat ass on Sexplanations.
Oh,
Yeah.
all
Keep up
up
with your
in there.
subscriptions.
I mean, I
We've
have
already kicked
yeah.
the children out, right?
But the good news about all of this is that most of the discovered microbes do not cause
I can't believe
disease.
that they hadn't done that before. Oh, they're not disease.
They're not disease carrying. Yeah.
Good.
So that
Good.
is the good news. Is like acne and things like
Right.
that do happen occasionally, but like
But they're not like
it's not gonna kill
You're
you.
not gonna die.
Clostridium.
No.
Not
You're,
like-
you're
not
not
like-
gonna catch
Not gonna-
plague from a dollar
Not
bill.
like
Like
full
Ebola.
on ass bacteria.
No.
No one's pushing ATM buttons with their butthole.
Also, like your cards must be disgusting too.
Only really
I mean-
skilled people.
Also, your phone. Like, you ever look down at your phone? It's just like covered in grease and like food remnants
I
and
want
coffee.
a scientist to swab
Oh,
the
God.
place where my phone meets the phone case and be like, okay, Hank. So we now know what you've done for the every day for the
It's like
last
tree
year.
rings.
It's disgusting. I have to like wipe the grease off the screen. It's
Or
like,
when
They're
you
all
go to, like, the Mac
gross. I wipe
store
my
and you
phone
open
off, like,
your
twice a
laptop
day.
And it's just
Oh,
like
yeah.
disgusting.
Whenever
God,
I
I
open
can't even-
someone else's computer, I'm like, you are fired.
It's
This
also
is
that thing
the
of-
grossest thing.
like I can
These
see
aren't
it now.
touch
the
screens.
clumps of
Yeah.
dirt and like debris in
Oh,
my
God.
It's
Yours is
vile.
clean.
Laptops aren't. Most of them aren't touch screens.
Why are there
Why are you
fingerprints?
touching the screen?
just point. You can
As a
point without
designer, hey, I
touching.
point to my documents all the time to show
That's
people
true.
things, and
Just
there's
get
finger
close.
Hover.
Just close. Hover.
But I-
Hover.com.
no.
Single dot lady. This podcast is actually brought to you by Big Sky Brewery. Big Sky Brewing.
Woo.
They brew beers. They're
It's
available
very
in
good.
36 of the 50 states. You might get moose drool. You might get scapegoat. You might get a trout slayer. There's probably going to be an animal involved. When I was in Australia, we had a tour guide who was showing us the street art in Melbourne, and he got really pissed off about animals on his beers. He was just like, no animals. About 5 years ago, all the beers started getting animals on them. And I just can't handle. Why do I need animal beers? And I was just like,
an
what
improv
the
show.
fuck is happening?
It's like a Scottish.
Yeah.
something.
It was
Like
literally
that
like
guy.
partially Scottish, partially Australian.
Yeah, I never said I was good at that.
No, we know.
Although I will say I was
You're
going to call
getting
you
a
out on
little
the fact
bit here.
that when you were talking like as you, and you were like, when I was in Melbourne, and I was like,
They
were
get
you in
fucking
Melbourne?
mad at you if you say Melbourne.
Oh, so it's
Oh.
How do you
Melbourne?
say?
Which is weird because,
Melbourne.
like, you don't go to London and everybody's like, no, it's London. No, like, it's like, you just say London.
Well, yeah,
and
they're
like,
not
you're
all
American.
Beatles.
But in Melbourne, if you say Melbourne, they're like, what? It's like if you said Missoula. I'd be like, no. It's Missoula.
But that happens all the time.
It
Wait,
does.
so
I hate
it's
it.
Melbourne.
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 Like,
no,
it's
no
like
R.
saying Melbourne with an Australian accent.
Melbourne.
But yeah, they
That's
don't.
like
they won't handle it. It's just how you say it with an American accent. And they're like, no, you're not pronouncing it right.
It's like the girl who came back from study abroad and she says Barcelona.
The
And
list.
only
Yeah.
that
That's
word.
from a John Oliver episode. Can't take
Yeah.
credit for that, but that
Yeah.
is exactly
That's me
what
right
that
now.
is.
That's me right now.
That girl.
Well, to wrap up
Melbourne, Australia.
my gross money point, I have a solution.
Okay. Bitcoin.
No, the U.S. just needs to make some new bills that are plastic
Oh.
because that's what like Canada and all these other countries are
Sure,
using.
you can wipe them
And
down.
plastic has much lower bacterial growth than the cotton linen stuff we're using.
Sure, where there's all the like pockets for it to
yeah,
hide
it
it.
just
There's
like
no pores.
grabs on.
Yeah. Or you could make out of copper, which is an interesting thing.
Okay, so you want
pennies.
pennies.
Some bill out of
Because
copper.
copper
So
actually
many
is
pennies.
antibacterial.
Okay, so we should have like long copper bills.
Copper strips. Yeah.
That don't fit in wallets.
Just shards.
Shards of copper.
Just pieces of metal with very thin pieces of metal. That will go just fine.
It's like a scrapyard.
They won't bend or break at all.
I'm
like-
trying to imagine what other thin pieces of metal with just like a very thin Oh, it's like a knife. Okay.
Oh, yes. Every dollar is a weapon.
Yeah. Well,
That's the name of my financial help book. Right
every
there.
dollar is a weapon. Yeah, that's great. How does Matthew Gaydos make his millions?
Well, I just bought a
Every dollar
$180
is a weapon.
R2D2 remote control thing, so don't follow my financial advice.
I thought we were gonna save up to go in on that Millennium Falcon.
I mean, we're splitting a thing?
We're gonna.
Oh,
we're
no.
already arguing about
We're
our
gonna-
financial
Doesn't matter
decisions.
how much money you make. Doesn't matter
It's
how
what
much
you
debt
fight
you have,
about
you are
early
getting
on.
divorced.
Oh man.
Sorry.
Hey everybody! Thanks for listening and watching this episode of Financial Diet. We're nope.
Oh,
This episode of Holy
Tricked
fucking
you, you're
science.
watching the financial.
These ladies and also Matthew work on the Financial Diet YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Financial Diet. Also, you guys have a blog and a Twitter and all that stuff. And we'll leave links in the description of that. This episode is sponsored by Big Sky Brewery. They're great. Holy fucking science. It was entirely directed and sound thinged by Caitlin Hofmeister, who's sitting back there all by herself this day because can't just. People don't have time. They got stuff to do. Thank you so much for listening / watching. We are both on podcast form and on YouTube form, so you can find us in those places. Tell people about us, because that's nice. Tell people about us. I through this whole podcast have been Hank Green. What?
Nothing. Sorry. I'm Matthew Gaydos.
I'm Lauren Verhaeg.
And I'm Chelsea Fagan.
And this has been
Holy fucking science.